Please can you remind me, if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm your host and founder of Alzheimer's Speaks, Lori LeBay. So welcome. Hope you all had a safe and wonderful holiday weekend. I just drove back from the lake this morning. I was going to come back yesterday, and it was just too dang nice. So had to stay one more night up there, and I'm glad I did. For those of you that are new to our show, I am just going to give you a little bit of background before we break into our program and start talking with our wonderful guest today. But I know we always get new listeners, and so a lot of people aren't familiar with Alzheimer's Speaks and what we do. And bottom line is we're an advocacy company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort all around the world. And we believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and having everyday conversations like we're going to have today about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas and the isolation attached to memory loss. And we're not only going to be able to help those diagnosed, but also their loved ones who are dealing with this disease, as well as professional caregivers. So I hope you decide to join the conversation today and tap into our chat box, and we'll be reviewing that. And if comments and questions come in that you want shared, we will be sharing that live here on the air. We know that together, by sharing our knowledge and our individual insights, that we're really going to be able to help. And you're seeing a movement being created and getting stronger every single day. You're hearing about dementia-friendly communities and memory cafes and all different types of ways for people to connect. There's a lot of buzz about the new film that I'm involved with promoting and getting out to the world called His Neighbor Phil, which is absolutely a fantastic way to get the conversation going. So here, again, at our core, we just really believe in collaboration, and we think by being collaborative instead of competitive that we're going to be able to win this battle against dementia. And I know that philosophy is working because due to your likes, your clicks, your shares on all your social media platforms with our information, we were acknowledged as the number one influencer online for Alzheimer's by ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And believe me, that was not us. That was you. That was you taking just those few seconds to share with your Facebook friends, tweet out to your Twitter tribes, share with your LinkedIn colleagues, and all the other different platforms that exist. It really, really makes a big difference. One of the things that I know is when I go out and speak, I'll ask my audience about 5 or 6 questions, and I'll have everyone stand. And as I ask those questions on who's been touched and by whom, in the audience, I can talk to a group of 1,000 people, and at the end, maybe have 5 people standing. And people are shocked at how many people have been touched by this disease. So by pushing and sharing this information out to others, we're allowing them access to information that they might not have. We're also putting it in people's minds that it's okay to have this conversation because it's been taboo for so long. And so, again, I can't thank you enough. You're really making a huge, huge difference in helping us shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort around the world. I also like people to know that, we interview everybody on this show. You can be diagnosed with the disease. You can be someone caring for a loved one or a friend. You can be a professional in the industry that might be doing something different. Maybe you're an advocate. We've had movie directors, we've had singers and songwriters, playwrights, you name it. Everything is welcome. And needless to say, we've had researchers on the show as well. Harvard's even been on the show. So we are just here to have a conversation. That's as simple as our philosophy is just to engage people, have fun, and laugh and cry as we go through this journey together. So I also like to, before I start with the interview, I always like to give a shout out to a few organizations that I think people aren't as familiar with as I guess I'd like them to be. And so one of them is called Alzheimer's Disease International. And they are the Alzheimer's Association of all Alzheimer's associations. So if you are anywhere in the world, you can go to ADI, or Alzheimer's Disease International. You can not only find what chapter is closest to you, but you're also going to get great global report information. In fact, they just launched their new report, which was pretty fascinating, and the numbers here in the U.S. have jumped significantly, almost doubled in the past 5 years of the number of people with dementia. So now we are over 9 million, where it was just 5 million in 2010. So pretty significant difference. If you're looking for a clinical trial, which that's the only way we're going to find a cure, is for people to step up and get involved. There you can go to the Alzheimer's team on Facebook, or you can go to our site, alzheimersspeaks.com. And on the front page, there's actually a survey on the right-hand column, just right underneath our Twitter feed. And it's a real simple survey. You'll find out if you qualify or not. Another new organization that many don't know about is called Dementia Action Alliance, or people refer to it as the DAA. And that website's a little bit different. It's daanow.org. But that is really a voice for the people and about the people. And again, a great, great organization. Also, when people are dealing with dementia, a lot of times people for many, many years, everyone thought any type of dementia was Alzheimer's, and that was really the only type there was. But there are many, many types. So there are specific organizations that can help you if you have Lewy body dementia or frontal temporal dementia, or if you're having symptoms that are disrupting speech. You can go to the Aphasia Association. There's also a great organization called the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, who I love dearly, and they take a holistic approach. So if you are in that mode, and you want to learn more about diet and exercise and meditation, that would be a perfect mix for you. The last one I want to give a shout out to is dear friends and great colleagues of mine at HealthStar Home Health. They have been instrumental in helping us launch His Neighbor Phil, which we just did our red carpet premiere a little over a week ago, and we are just getting rave reviews. We're getting people all over the country reaching out, wanting that film. But they were also at our Minnesota State Fair, and they did memory screenings, and they started doing this last year. And last year we were thrilled because they did 2,200 memory screenings, which people thought no one would do at all at our Minnesota State Fair because it's so huge. This year, I don't have the final count, but last count I heard there were over 3,000 people that wanted memory screenings. In fact, when we had some of the actors out for a 2-hour period to do autograph signing, we had to tell people to come back to the booth because they wanted their memory screening. And some of them were a little upset they couldn't get it during that 2-hour period and had to come back, but they did come back. So that is telling us, anyways, here in Minnesota, that the culture is really, really changing, and people are feeling so much more comfortable in terms of having a conversation and reaching out and getting information. So pretty exciting stuff. Okay, that's it for my housekeeping. So why don't we get into our guest here? I'm really excited to have Donjia Gale is a global anchor for the Women's Broadcasting Network, and she is a powerful, authentic talent in communicating and relating to audiences around the globe. Her experience and exceptional influence have had a positive effect in both the corporate world and that of entrepreneurs as well. She has really had some unique life experiences led by faith, and she's just a special character. In fact, I hope you don't mind this, Donjia, if I share, but her daughter just had heart surgery, and I was just thinking, as a mother, how devastating and how scary that must be. But she said, "Oh, Lori, it was just one of the most blessed experiences we had." And how many people have that strong of a faith to look at that type of surgery and say, this was a blessed experience. This was really a spiritual process, for us. I just thought that was incredible. She's so poised and yet so vibrant. And she really, truly empowers and shares the truth about the 21st century woman. So welcome, Donjia. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Lori. I am doing wonderful. It is a beautiful day here in Colorado, and I'm so thrilled and very excited to have a heartfelt experience. Work of worth is so important to me, and it's been lovely to meet you and hear about your advocacy for Alzheimer's and dementia and all the things that you do. And yes, thank you for mentioning, my daughter's story. It was truly a tremendous trial of faith, and she is recovering well. She has about 6 weeks to go, but it's just amazing, amazing journey. So I'm happy to be here. Lots of wonderful things happening, and very honored to be a voice for women of the 21st century.
Well, great. You talk about the power of the 21st century woman. What does that really mean to you, and what do you think women's responsibility is, with that power?
That's a great question. We get asked that because that is our absolute direct focus. The Women's Broadcasting Network is 100% dedicated to 21st century women. And people say, well, what does that mean? Is it all women? Yes, it is all women who are living, who are around today. And here's why. Here's the difference. Women, 21st century women, now know their value. We all have a voice now. We have opportunities that we have not had before. There are amazing women who have paved the way in many, many different areas, industrially, with technology and, the corporate world, et cetera. But right now, the difference between what we're doing before and what the 21st century woman is doing right now is actually getting the worth out of that value. We are stepping forward more. We're generating more results than we ever have economically, socially, financially. We're holding leadership positions even more. We have our own online radio stations and all these different things where we have our voice, and now we're actually getting the worth out of our value.
I like that, because for so long, and many people will still say, well, women still aren't getting paid their total value, but we've come a long way, baby. And, and granted, there's always, I'm one of those where I don't think anybody should ever stay stagnant. I think that we should always be looking at trying to improve and never be satisfied, knowing that there's always a better way, there's a different approach, if it's economically more feasible, if it's more inclusive. I just think we constantly have to be striving for better. And one of my personal goals is to never get stagnant. And even though sometimes I would like to just sit still for a moment, I don't know if I can, because I love pushing that envelope and seeing, what's possible, what's possible. And in talking with you offline, I just felt like we were almost kindred spirits on that level, that you are just one of those two that just looks at, it's limitless what can be done, especially if we work together.
Yes, I absolutely felt that same way, too. In speaking with you the very first time, and I think it was the second time, like, do I know her? Do I know Lori from somewhere? But it is exactly what we're talking about, is the spirit of today's woman. The opportunity is there. It is open. It's more enormous than it ever has been. And we're also doing things differently. We're not sitting at the table at dinner like I used to when I was a kid at 5 and 6 o'clock every single night. Most women today are either caring for another loved one, or they're on the football field, or they're working late. There's the way we live, how a technology keeps moving us forward and propelling us forward with communication and all these other things has us living a completely different life. But the core of us, the power of the woven woman is the same. And that is that driven woman who keeps things going, keeps opportunity, keeps positive, and connects with other like minds such as yourself to work towards the greater good. And that's why it's so lovely talking with you and working with different organizations and groups and nonprofits, is because those like souls joining together in unity, especially with women leading them, are more powerful than ever.
I agree. Now you are part of the Women's Broadcasting Network, and which is known as the WBN. Can you tell us a couple of things? You know, how did it become? How did it get launched? You know, how did the concept come to be? And how is it different from other networks that are out there right now?
Very, very good question. Well, I have had the honor and pleasure of being bold, and more bold than I've ever been before. And I was moving from corporate into knowing that I had been called and pulled to something larger, something bigger. I've always gotten commented on how great I spoke, and you know, you really affected the room, and we want to hear more of you. But I didn't really know how and where to share that outside of corporate or some of the small business speaking that I was doing. So I go on the internet and I change my LinkedIn profile and I say, we want to work in media and broadcasting. And I started going to school a little bit for it. And an amazing man named Raymond K. Coleman, who has a tenured season with CNN. He's worked with Ted Turner, those individuals, tons of networking. He is a career broadcaster. He found me at 3:30 a.m. on the internet after me just simply stating to the universe that I want to do better work and I want to affect more people. And little did I know, it had been 6 years in the process that he had been working on the WBN, the Women's Broadcasting Network, studying, watching women, Katie Couric, these other women who've been making these changes on Today's Show, Good Morning America, Melody Hobson and economics, all these different things. He's been taking this information and building this network. And it was really divine intervention and good timing that he needed a global anchor to broadcast and share that information. An amazing woman named Beverly Armstrong was working with him before, but she had since passed away the year before, and we connected. And for this very powerful mission, again, it's been in the process for many, many years with lots of accreditation. So that's how it launched. But what makes us different, again, we are 100% focused on 21st century women. There has not been another network ever, and I know that people may find this hard to believe. It's 2015. We have Oprah, we have Ellen, we have all of these amazing speakers around the world, and there's never been a network 100% dedicated to women, and we are just that. And we have an authentic voice, we are non-scripted, and we highlight people such as yourself, Lori, and other women in corporate, nonprofits, so many different things in a unique way where there is a call to action. We're not just interviewing them, you know, to have them on and give them glory. God gets all the glory, but we definitely share what they do and have a women's call to action so that they can participate in their own life in entrepreneurship or learning or studying or whatever it is that we're sharing so they can act upon it and become greater themselves.
Well, I love that. One of the core things that I speak about is our care culture. And to me, that is really, when I hear you talk about it, that's really what you guys are about, is developing a different type of care culture, one that is calling people to action and empowering people to take action. And each time I talk with you, I always get inspired just by hearing your voice, and your tone and your excitement and your drive, and I hear that from people when I go to speak as well, and it's so much fun, but it is contagious, and those voices need to be heard because they're life changing for so many other people when they can look at you and go, wow, she did that. Could that be possible for me? And then all of a sudden they're going, that is possible for me. I could do that. Or maybe my twist will be a little bit different, but I can step up. I can do this. I'm not alone. And I think for so long women felt alone. You know, they were marching up the mountain, you know, just by themselves. And now there's a whole tribe of women, you know, climbing the mountain and lending a hand to one another, to empower each other and to work collaboratively. And I think women, you know, in my mind, and maybe it's because I'm a woman, but I've always felt that women tend to be a little bit more collaborative and sometimes a little bit more creative in terms of outcomes. And I'm sure men would argue with me up one side and down the other on that.
Sure they would.
But you know, I just think there's a different approach and style to it, and that doesn't have to necessarily run somebody over to get to the next step. You know, that you can go together, and you just
Exactly.
your voices might just be tweaked in a little different fashion, or even if you're talking about the same thing, you know that there's enough people that need to hear your voice. That it's still a good thing, you know, and not being so scared of one another.
Everyone has a voice. That's the greatest power of it. You know, with the internet and Twitter and Facebook and all of these different things, that whatever capacity women are at right now, they still have a voice. And, you know, when I was in corporate, I taught non-compete. You know, I was in sales and marketing and all these different things, and I never taught to work against the competition. You know, I only taught be your very best and the results will happen from there. And so as I've kind of gone into more mentoring with women, that unity that you speak about, that non-compete that you speak about is more and more powerful. We have a natural nurturing instinct. We are woven women in so many different ways to work together. We have to work together with our children. We have to think in multiple ways at all times. We always have a caring instinct. And you know, if there's any men listening, I'm not saying we're better than you are by any means. We all equally are made and partnered to do great things, but women have really come to the forefront, and I think they're recognizing that power of working together versus just having to be number one. And so, you know, working with your organization and the things that we're going to do forward, I believe there's a huge momentum that can be built in really speaking out for the advocacy of those who are dealing with Alzheimer's, the caretakers, all of those amazing things that you're talking about. That lights my spirit up in order to do that, and I'm really looking forward to what's ahead.
Yeah, you know, our tagline here on Alzheimer's Speaks Radio is giving voice and enriching lives around the world, and I think that really applies to, you know, your network as well, with the Women's Broadcasting Network, because it really is about getting that voice heard and enriching lives, empowering people all around the world with so many different venues. I think it's really, really exciting. I'm sure some of my audience is going, what does any of this have to do with dementia? Yeah, you know. Because we typically really try to stay very focused on dementia and caregiving here. But I think, again, your network is going to empower people to care for others and for themselves better. And to me, that's the tie-in, you know, with your network. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your background personally and professionally, and what led you to your passion of working with women?
You know, I have a very eclectic background. I'm thankful for every single moment of it. I have no regrets. You know, I started out in college thinking I was going to be a sociologist and a lawyer and work with people. I always knew there was something I could do to affect people because, you know, even at elementary school, little kids would come to me and just tell me a vault full of information. And I would kind of talk to them about it and learn things. It's very interesting when I'm looking back. But over my career, I worked in corporate and sales and banking. I worked for Charles Schwab at one point. Something relative to finances for the most part, and then I moved into sales and marketing because I found a niche in communicating with people, being effective, making things happen, and really getting people to relate to certain things in order, you know, to deliver results, whether it be revenue or team building, et cetera. So with the conglomeration of my corporate background, about a year and a half ago, I decided that it still wasn't enough. I was a director. I was traveling the nation. It was the most amazing company I've ever worked for, but still felt there was more for me to do. And I had left there and kind of restarted Triangles, which is a nonprofit organization that I started many years ago that was singly focused on single parenting families. And it lied dormant just for a little while, and I brought it back to life and started doing that, and then started doing a little bit of PR work. Again, this is my up and down journey to find out where I'm being led, what I'm supposed to be doing. And it always had something to do with women. So as I began to speak in network marketing and entrepreneurship in front of women, I mean, people would just come up to me and say, I heard what you said. I am that struggling mom. I was her. I don't have enough time in the day. And I began to teach women how to manage their day, manage their activity versus trying to run against time. Certain things like that would just come to me. So kind of developed another business in entrepreneurship, and I was working in the coffee business, which is kind of a direct lead into how I gained a passion for Alzheimer's. So those are those people, those listeners out there who are listening to Lori. This really is about Alzheimer's and dementia. And I was led to that because there's an amazing herb that women began coming to me in this coffee that they were telling me helped suppress a bit some of the symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia. And I was like, wow. And they wanted me to tell their story for them. They were at home caring for their fathers and their mothers or at the nursing homes. And by drinking this coffee that they found a difference. That was their personal experience that they heard. Again, there was no health claims made at all, but the Ganoderma in this coffee was very effective for them. I was like, wow. So I began going to nursing homes, talking to nursing homes about introducing this coffee, studying more of the effects personally on these women that were talking to me about their dads and moms having this betterment or more calamity in their experience throughout the day. And that's how I gained a passion for it, because I heard and saw people struggling, with time and care and leadership and wanting to be the corporate woman and wanting to be pulled to do what they were called to do in life and purposed work, but also being consumed with the fact that they have to take care of their parents morning, noon, and night. Whether it was visiting the nursing home or doing it in home, it was really taking a toll on them. And that is the biggest plea to me. Like, I just don't have time. I'm overwhelmed with this. I love my parents, but this is so difficult. And then they also shared with me the hurtful parts of it, of, the non-remembrance and things like that. And so I really became around the culture of those dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. And that's one area of my life. And then I keep continuing. And then when the Women's Broadcasting Network comes, I meet people like Lori LeBay who want to talk about it globally. And wow, that connection from there gave me some experience to be able to talk to this audience and probably every other experience in my life, whether it be being a single parent or a working corporate mom. All of the things that I have lived, I have been able to bring to the forefront and speak and mentor and coach other women about.
Well, that's interesting. I know, for my life, I had a mentor of mine say, because I was really struggling, and what do I want to do when I grow up? I had been in real estate for 25 years, and I was really drawn to do something bigger and better and different than what I had been doing. And I wasn't really sure what that was. And she told me, she said, take your life and chop it into 5-year chunks. And she said, write down in every 5-year chunk the most important person, the most influential person in your life in that period, or the most powerful moment. And she said it can be one or it can be both. And boy, I went back and I broke my life down, and I was shocked at how my dots connected to where I am today. It made perfect sense. Never would have seen it without doing that. Never, ever. So I always encourage people, if they're struggling, I don't care what it is, if you're looking for a career, if you're struggling as a caregiver, whatever it might be, break your life down and, what's really impacted you. And you get this new look at who you are and why you are and what your skill sets are. Because I think sometimes we forget. what we're really good at, because so many times we do what we're told we should do, and it makes sense, and it might be go to school and be an accountant because you're good with numbers. Well, you might not have ever liked numbers or had a passion for numbers, but now all of a sudden you're an accountant and you're in your job and you're not really happy. And so, connecting the dots can really help you find that passion. And man, when you find that passion, your whole life changes. I mean, it's not like going to work. It's not a 4-letter word. You enjoy doing it, and it's almost hard to turn off. Anyways, it is for me. I don't know. Is it that way for you?
Oh, yes. And I now call it my wow moment. Everyone has their little name for something that happens, but I call it my wow moment because it's work of worth. And really, that's what we're really called to do. And I was that person. You're going to be a lawyer. You're good at talking and negotiating. And then there was this other side of my family. You can't talk that way. Very old school. You can't speak that way. Women don't talk that way. And I'm not even that old. I mean, I consider myself considerably young, but I have lived a little bit. And that kind of connotation and voice was being told to me that I can't act this way. I can't speak this way. And if I just went to school, went to college, and found a husband and had a couple kids, I would be okay. But we now know in the 21st century that is the biggest non-truth that exists. The world has changed. The economy has changed. Technology has changed. The way the day moves has changed. And really what we're emphasizing with our network and working with yours as well is today's woman, today's challenges in caregiving, different diseases, and really still allowing yourself to be the best you and sharing that voice. And I feel the same way. I wake up every morning, like you said, and I get to do this. It's an honor. I say it every time on our show. It is an honor to be here with the WBN because there's no greater feeling than to overcome all of those adversities and trials, make them work, still deal with everything. A lot of people were asking me, how are you on the radio and your daughter just got out of the hospital with heart surgery? I said, because this is my why. I get to speak about it. So, my mom and family was there in the hospital, and I got on my cell phone, and I did the show. And I went in and I did the show. It was right down the street from the hospital, and it's my why. And when you find that, there's no greater joy. You get more energy. You get more love. And what I've also found, Lori, is that you get surrounded by the right type of partnership. People begin to come to you. You begin to connect to people that have like minds that continue to motivate and propel you, and it just keeps going from there. So like you were saying, I encourage every person in the world to take time and take that 5-year plan, or maybe it's just a 2-year plan, and write it out. It worked for me. It worked for Lori. It can really work for you. It just takes a few minutes.
Yeah, and I love that saying, the wow, work of worth, and finding your why. It is so important, and it's a game changer. And sometimes, if you're caring for someone who is ill or going through a divorce, it doesn't really make any difference. When we're going through transition, sometimes we have to do the dump and run. There's some people that just don't fit our lives anymore. And it's very difficult and it's very painful because we don't know if anyone else is going to come and fill that space. And sometimes we get so stuck in a rut with, the same people. But when you find if people are draining your energy and they're not filling you up, or if you're, a care partner, and this happens very often when you're caring for a person, all of a sudden people see that you're good at it and they start all clamoring to you. Because they want to be cared for too, but they're almost they can almost be vampires in a way, where they're taking but they're not giving back, and it is really important to align with those that make sense to you on all levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So you're connected, because it just makes life so much easier, and you become so much stronger, so much happier, so much calmer. The drama leaves, and it allows you to do your wow, to really work your worth, and be that person that you want to be. I don't know. I don't know if you found that, but I know that I found that several different times in my life where I've had to transition, through friends and sometimes even family and coworkers.
Okay.
My circles change, and it's painful.
It is. I'm so glad you're talking about that today, because we will be talking about that again soon on the WBN, and here's why. It is very, very real. Women, we don't want to face it. There's a fear of the loneliness. There is a fear of letting go. Gosh, that is the biggest lie that surrounds us, the biggest distraction that surrounds us. Because what you said, to your point, Lori, when I began changing my sphere, and it meant some of my very close family. I was born in a tight-knit family. We had Thanksgiving together. We helped each other. But, as life has changed and life has grown, sometimes those people don't grow with you. And they don't understand where you're going. One, they didn't live that way. I have a lot of family who lived in unionized working and different things and had always done the same thing. And here I am out here trying entrepreneurship and doing radio and doing whatever, because I know that there's something greater. And the effect that it's had on my children is amazing. They have watched our family circle change just a bit. They've watched my friend circle change. I love them all dearly. If you're all listening, I love you all so much, but really we do have to disconnect to a point. And when I finally faced that fact, because I'm a loyal person, the loyalty is what kept me holding on so long. It wasn't fear of being alone. It wasn't fear of letting them go. I'm just naturally a loyal person. And that kept me hanging on to things that I didn't necessarily need. And once I finally faced that, easier said than done, but once I did, like you said, I felt so free, and it opened up a universe of opportunity for me. And people always say, how do you do it? I faced a few things, I had faith, and I followed through. Those are the three biggest things that I did that have really allowed me opportunities to speak with yourself, be the global anchor for the WBN. I had to face Donjia and let that stuff go, let those people go, and move forward. So you are right on with that. It's painful, but the pain, what is it? No pain, no gain. That is really true, whether it's physically, mentally, or spiritually. I've really had to press on myself to take myself to those higher levels, and it has been more than worth it.
Yeah, and I've always found that, it's almost like an ascension process, and some people will believe in that and some won't, but I truly do believe that, you're lifted up and you're with a different realm of people, and life just becomes easier and so much more filling, and you end up being around people that you can actually be your authentic self, and you didn't realize until you made that break that you weren't really being you, because you were too busy being the you that you thought they needed. And
absolutely.
And so, yeah, and that happens a lot, when we're giving care for people too. And it's really critical that we take care of ourselves. And I got caught in that trap with my own parents. My dad had brain cancer. My mom had the dementia, and my life became theirs. Even though I had a daughter and I was married and I was working and I was volunteering and I had extra people living in my house and the whole 9 yards, that was really kind of my primary focus. And it really was life-changing, and I didn't realize how much it had affected me until my dad passed. And then there was such a gap because I didn't really know who I was, because I was for them. I was for, my husband, for my daughter, and it really made me step back and go, who the heck am I for me? When I'm alone, who am I? And people would ask, well, what do you like to do? And I'm like, I don't even know. I'm too busy taking care of everyone else. And so,
yes.
And so
yes.
for a couple of years, I just had to play. I just started taking classes, and people are like, why are you doing that? I'm like, why not? I'm trying to figure out, what do I like? I don't know. We should all know that, it's kind of sad that we get so sidetracked that we don't know what we like and what we're good at and what we're passionate at. I think we see the same thing with our aging society as people either get laid off of work or let go or retire. A lot of times there's a loss of identity. And we don't teach people to go back and analyze, what did you like? What did you like when you were little that you let go because you went a different direction, you know? Wouldn't you like to touch that again? You know, wouldn't you like to experience that again? Wouldn't you like to be able to just get creative? Everyone has an idea that they've been too scared to even tell anyone else that they even thought that idea, you know. But if we can empower people to start testing those things out, and it might be something little and it might be something big, but we can impact people's lives by empowering them to not judge themselves on success or failure, but rather look at, did you try? Did you try?
Oh, yes.
You know,
yes.
And just get a little closer to your dreams and be able to check it off and not have a regret that you didn't try. I think that there's, you know, the whole caregiving process for me, I always talk about that I don't believe in perfection. I think it exists for one moment and then it's poof, it's gone, because everything in the universe changes. But yet we all get in this routine that things have to be done a certain way, and I think we have to be much more fluid and we have to be much more conscious on what's changed around us so that we can always do it better. And I just think that that's so critical, and that's something so important when we're dealing with people with dementia, because what works in one moment might not work the next. But if we applied that to our whole life, if we taught our children to look at that, you know, what a different world this would be. And I think your network can really bring that out, that we can look at our life lessons in a whole different light.
Yes, it's that constant evolution of change that you were saying. I don't believe in perfection. It just is always moving. And once you have gotten to the greatest place that you think it is, it's going to increase from there. The same thing on the most negative place. You don't stay there for too long. So if you've had the toughest day, the hardest day with yourself, or dealing with a loved one, where the circumstances absolutely beyond your control, you know, especially in dealing with those who have Alzheimer's and dementia, you never know what to expect on that day, how they're going to be feeling or thinking, what they may remember and or not, what their state of behavior, what mood they're going to be, all of those different things. But you said something very powerful just right now. If we apply that into all of our life, when we're at work, when we're in corporate or small business, that change is not just specific to those dealing with that disease. It is heightened, it is severe, and it's more dear because it usually is a loved one, whether you're a caretaker or the daughter or son or what have you. But really, if we took that as a global perspective and dealing with life every day, that it's always changing, it's always moving, there's always a different air, a different vibe. In Colorado, I'm not trying to be funny, but we have different weather all the time. There is a state of readiness that we have to be in no matter what we're dealing with, whether it be a healthy parent or a parent who is ill, whether it be a great corporate day or an awful one, or a large day in small business or a null day in small business, whether our kids are at their supreme level or they are acting really like someone else. We have to face those things and be able to adapt to that. And I believe us as women are created to do so. We just have to take a little more time to be calm, to meditate, to tune into the greater part of our worth inside. And we all have that authentic power to face each of these things. It's not something you have to read 85 books and go to 55 seminars to do. If you just tap into the woven woman, that is how we were created, and we are able to face those challenges that which eventually take us to the greatest places of our life. And I just want to add one more thing. I got to that place that you were in. Like, what am I doing? My father passed away of an aortic aneurysm at age 50 years old. I honored him. He taught me education and told me that the world was a tough place and just my favorite person in the whole world. And he died at 50 years old from an aortic aneurysm. And my life changed. And then I had to take care of my mom and my brother, and I had to keep all of our family because my dad was such the core of our family that for the last, 15 or 20 years, I'd been keeping them together. I was there when they needed it and when they got married and when they were in trouble and they needed everything. I could go on. But I realized over the last probably 5 years or so, if I don't start finding out who I am and figuring out what I want to do for the next half of my life, which is going to be greater than ever, I'm in trouble. And I like pottery. Okay, I really like pottery, and I like talking to women, and I like traveling, and I was only traveling for work. So there were certain things that became stagnant in my life because I thought if I just gave, I would be well. But we don't honor God and we don't honor ourselves if we don't follow through on our work of worth or our work of purpose. And we always think we're doing good by helping other people, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not good to yourself, it's not good enough.
Yeah, one of the, I kind of had a epiphany one time, and when it came to caring for others, and some people would say I had a nervous breakdown one evening, but I choose to say it was an epiphany, and I woke up a whole different person. But I was taking care of so many people and not taking care of myself, and I woke up with this renewed definition of what is a caregiver versus an enabler. And there's a real fine line between the two. And now I've taught myself to ask myself certain questions. Anytime someone asks me to do something, I don't care if it's, come on over for a party or babysit or, go get gas or whatever it might be. But I ask myself, why? Why am I going to do this? And if people start asking themselves why, they're going to be shocked at their answers on how many times they do stuff out of guilt, how many times they do stuff out of they're afraid they'll be judged if they don't participate, and how people will look at them. And I still have a long ways to go, but I've made miles in this whole process. But I've really been making better decisions of, I want to love what I'm doing. And I want to do it out of love. I don't want to do it out of control. I don't want to do it because I feel guilty. I don't want to feel that I'm being judged. I want to, do I really want to give myself in this way? Because, all of us have a limited amount to give. And so, how can we be the most beneficial? Where can we get that wow factor the most and feel good about it? And so that was just life-changing for me. And what I found was a lot of people I thought I was giving care to, I sat back and thought, oh my gosh, I'm really enabling them to continue a lifestyle that needs fixing all the time. And that's why they came to me. That's why they were drawn to me, was because I would fix it. And then they would go out and play again, and then I would carry the burden. And so I wasn't allowing people to live their journeys and be responsible for their own journeys. And I had no idea I was doing that because I just thought I was being a good person caring for someone. And when you step back and really go, gosh, I'm putting more effort into this than they are, something's wrong here, And we do that with kids. We do that with relatives. We do that with loved ones. And it's really about finding balance. And, those people, a lot of times when you step back, will choose to leave your life. And then I know for me, my wonderful inner critic showed up and said, they never really loved you anyways, they just used you. And you go through that really lonely period of, oh, woe is me, and how could I be so dumb, And then all of a sudden these little angels appear, these wonderful people in your life that are just so incredible, and they raise you up and they fill you up, and that you're doing that for them as well. And it's just all of a sudden you have balance, and you didn't even know that it was gone. Anyways, I didn't.
Yes, I didn't know either, and I had to find it through a funny way. I got laid off. It wasn't funny then. Laid off 4 times every year, and I was like, at the 4th time, I was like, is it me? What is happening? But really, it was my universal call to action to start business and start working my own businesses and make additional income, and that I had all the things I needed within me to begin doing that. That wasn't just for everyone else. And I had no idea because there were no entrepreneurs in my family. I never grew up around it. I didn't know, maybe an entrepreneurial spirit, but it had never manifested. And so during those times when I was laid off and on unemployment for those times, I started my nonprofit. That was my first edge at being an entrepreneur and helping people, wanting to do something I loved. And then I started in network marketing, and then I did a couple of other things, but really I began to found my niche in having results with all of the things that you just talked about. facing that worth, facing that loneliness. All of those things have to happen in order for you to get where you need to be. And I tell women all the time when talking, on radio and through our network and public speaking, get there quicker. We have so many women like myself and you, Lori, who are talking about that journey. And for me, it took a little while. But get there sooner than later. It doesn't really take that long. It just takes a state of readiness and a dedication to becoming who you were called to be, who you were chosen to be. And like you said, you just woke up and you felt different. And it is that quick. Mm-hmm. So anybody else who tells you it's going to take 10, 15, 20 years, maybe not. It could take 5 minutes. And I encourage every woman out there, our 21st century women, all the listeners on Lori's show, to really hone in on that today, because it can change how you are a caregiver. It can change your light that you give when you're caring for your loved ones, whether they are sick or well. It'll change your inner being, which will exude light and love, and it will attract every single thing that you need. And I'm surrounded by that now, and it keeps growing every day. I am wowed by the people I'm introduced to, and the work that continues to go forward and will go forward long after I'm gone, because now my kids get it. I have a 20-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter, and they get it right now. And if they get it now, I can imagine what they're going to do going forward. And it's really about living and loving and leaving a legacy, no matter what situation you're in.
That's really exciting to think that your kids get it. I know my daughter does now too, and I'm sure you've heard stories too of how what you've done has inspired others. I remember going through my divorce, and I would just talk about it openly, and people go, one woman pulled me aside and said, I've never heard anybody talk about getting divorced the way you do. There's no blame. It's just you both deserve better. Your lives have parted, and you want to remain friends. And she came up to me and she says, I need to get a divorce, and with someone who was in a very abusive relationship and didn't know really how to get out of it. And she said, you've given me the power to see that it can be done peacefully, and everybody can walk away dignified. It doesn't have to be mean and nasty. And she was just like, it shocked me, because I had no idea that people were looking at it like that. It was just part of my life, and I'm kind of an open book, and that's who I am. And I talk about stuff. I mean, I always have. And I don't think people should feel embarrassed over certain things. We all go through, different situations at different times. But, I ended up, I think there were 3 or 4 people, not all real close to me, kind of almost second and third ring people, that said, you helped me make my passage into my new life by sharing your divorce. And it was just like...
Doesn't that inspire you, like, beyond words?
Oh, yeah.
When people say that to you?
Yeah.
It's an indescribable feeling, because here I am opening up myself like you, and I'm an open book, and I simply was sharing the challenges I had of parenting my 2 children singly and still being able to work and travel and live a really good life. And people were like, how in the heck do you do that? And so I started to talk about it, and I got the same response. And I still get the same response, and it is so incredibly rewarding. I don't do it for the reward, and I didn't even know it was there. I just thought I should talk about it, because too many people hide what's going on with them. There's this falsity that they have to be that someone else, and they don't talk about their true struggle. But if you say something, if you put it out there, if you use your voice, the world was created with words and voice. And if you put it out there, I mean, the universe will answer you. The Lord will answer you. You will get what you need. It's in books. It's on the internet. Don't believe everything on the internet. But there are so many tools. We can no longer stay at home and say that we don't have enough. And we talk about that on the Women's Broadcasting Network. You can research things on the internet. You can go to libraries. They're free. Libraries give out iPads and GoCams and all of that. You can rent every piece of equipment that you would ever need to read, discover, capture, take video at the library. You can go anywhere. You can go outside. You can go to corporations. There's such free information everywhere that we all are empowered. And the biggest part, there are people everywhere to connect to. I met some of the most amazing people on an elevator, walking in a restaurant, Put yourself out there, get out of the house, sometimes just being away from monitoring the bills and all of the stuff you need for the day and just taking a walk. I got one of the most greatest positions of my life simply by going to a football game and sitting and watching, and somebody saw me and referred me to the principal of $1 million company and said I should be the one to work for him. So you have to put yourself out there and enjoy the loveliness of the world, the people, the environment, and all that is offered to us to become the best you and become the best caretaker that you can be.
Yeah. Now I have to ask you, I'm big into intentions. Do you do intentions at all? Do you have any written out or any mantras at all?
I started them. I listened to this tape, and I believe Mr. Dwyer recently passed away, and it was The Power of Intention. Oh my goodness. I listened to that in my car for about a week, and that was my igniting, if you will, on intent. And so, yes, I do now. I do declarations. I do intentions, and I say what I intend to do. But what I've noticed, Lori, is that my intent is natural. I always intend to do well. I intend to excel. I intend to challenge myself. I intend to help someone or people every day. That's become natural to me, so I don't write those down every day. But what I do write down is the greater goal. Like, what do I want to do with this intent? What will I do with this amount of money or the amount of money I would like to have? I began to think limitlessly based on that foundation of intent. So I write more declarations, more goals. I declare I have this, I see this, I already have it, because I believe in the abundance and everything is already here. And I write those down more than intentions.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I go through phases. When I'm feeling lost or like I'm floundering a little bit, I'm like, okay, I gotta make a new list again, and what do I want? And it just helps me get clear and get focused. And I used to be, when I first started it, I was really specific. I was too specific, and I was limiting myself, And now I know that I really have to just be open, because God in the universe has much wider eyes than I do, and better ideas and different ways. I mean, probably one of the easiest examples for me is the whole recognition from Cher, Care, and Dr. Oz. Not in a million years would I ever think that I would get that that status of being the number one influencer online. And lo and behold, all of a sudden they call me up, and I was shocked. I was just. It wasn't even on my radar. And so now I know that when I do my intentions, I have to be much broader in terms of what's my overall intent. Don't worry about the path. That will become clear and that will become evident, and just ask for my perfect partners to line up with me. At the perfect time, even though I say I don't believe in perfect, but my ideal partners, ones that have similar vision and similar passion to move things through. And it's amazing who all of a sudden just knocks on your door or shoots you an email, and you're just like, wow, but I think that's really important. I think that's, one of the things for me, this whole caring for my folks process, it made me, in order to not feel alone, because my family was on a whole different wavelength than I was in terms of how to care and when to care, or even to care, in the fashion that I felt was necessary. And so there were a lot of times I felt really, really alone. So it made me so much stronger spiritually. I can't even, it's I talk about sometimes about the levels of unconditional love, but the levels of spirituality I didn't even know existed. I mean, I just didn't know existed at all. And I'm so much more spiritual. I'm so much more devoted. I have much stronger faith than I ever could have imagined. Years ago. It kind of blows me away, but it steadies me, and it calms me, and it's always so much easier when you don't think you're alone.
Agreed. Agreed. And it is shocking daily, like you said. It's what just comes to you, and that journey is amazing. And I think it's on purpose. I mean, to gain greater awareness spiritually means you will recognize those who are like you more. You just get this feeling. You just know better. You do better. You don't ever make perfect decisions. There's still mistakes made, but the realm, as you stated, that we are in, it's supernatural. It's amazing. I take things in differently. The beauty of the world and the very hardship of the world, I take it all in stride, and it all still becomes positive because they're all related, they're all relative, and it just strengthens me. And that's that faith you talked about in the beginning. That's where my greatest faith comes from. I would be nothing without it. And I know we're getting ready to come to the close of your show, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for having such a very real conversation. It really just confirmed what we do on the WBN. We have real, authentic conversation about real women, real results, real time, real life. And this conversation really reflected that in so many different ways, especially in the care of those dealing with loved ones and Alzheimer's and dementia. So thank you for having the WBN on, and myself, Donjia Gale. I'm very proud to be with you today.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. And we did post on the on the website your information and contact. There's a great little trailer that you can watch too regarding the WBN. And then there's a couple of links. One on Facebook. You can go to Facebook and then just put in WBN Global, and you'll be taken to their page. Don't forget to like them while you're there, and go ahead and share that. I think your shows are going to be incredible, and I really look forward to listening to them and in seeing the empowerment that you're going to provide. Not just women, even though I know the voice is going to be women. I think there's just that trickle down effect, and that ripple that happens when someone is filled with passion. Other people, see it, all ages, all stages of life, and I think it's a pretty cool thing to be able to see. Is it okay to give out your email address if people want to shoot you an email and talk?
Absolutely. My personal email address is available. We're adjusting our global email address. We've had such great response and all these different changes. We're moving to the web and all of this. Based on us just starting in February. So the Women's Broadcasting Network, yes, Lori, you can give my personal email address out. I'm willing and happy to talk to anyone. And again, thank you for being on, and hopefully you will be on with us next month.
Yeah, I would love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to future conversations with you.
Fantastic. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. For those of you that didn't catch our show last week, we had on Beth Patterson, and she talked about reverse mortgages and how they can be utilized to help you care for your loved one. A lot of times people want to stay at home, but they need extra funds, and how to leverage that. We also had Donna True on with the Alzheimer's Association from the Treasure Coast area of Florida. And we talked about a symposium that they are doing, which is free to caregivers. On the 17th, actually, I'm going to be down there. We're going to be previewing the new film, His Neighbor Phil. And then on the 18th will be the symposium. It'll be myself, Mara Botanis, and there is also going to be a person who has dementia who's going to be speaking about what her life is like. And so that'll be really exciting to hear from her in her own words. Let's see. Dementia Chats. We had one this morning. We had a great conversation. Michael Ellenbogen shared that he has been reinstated with DHS, and so he can now participate again in his advocacy. The Alzheimer's Association also is allowing him to participate in their organization events after reviewing things, which I'm so glad to hear. His voice needs to be heard. And then on the blog, we have information on the film, His Neighbor Phil. We did our red carpet event that's on there. There's information about Health Star Home Health and their memory screenings. And we did a short interview out there at the fair. We had some technical difficulties, so we lost kind of the first portion of the show. But we talked about the memory screenings and the resources, and then we talked about dementia-friendly communities while we were at the state fair. And then on the 3rd, I posted an article called Alzheimer's Disease Like the Heart of an Onion. And it was something I had written years ago, but I just thought it was worth reposting once again for people to read. And we've gotten some great comments with that. Before we end our show here today, I just want to give a couple of shout-outs to some of my cohorts here at Alive and Social. Apples to Apples. If you haven't checked out their show, please do so. That's Scott and Drew Applebaum. They're a father and son team, and you'll find out if father really knows best with those two bantering back and forth about sports. It's a fun conversation to hear. And then Rusty Gatenby has his Twin Cities Hit Show, which is on Monday through Thursday at 9:30. Really a fun, fast-paced show. He's got great music, great conversation. He's always talking about what's going on in the news and giving perspective. But again, check out the Twin Cities Hit Show at 9:30 Monday through Thursday. It's very entertaining, and you will have fun listening to that show. It'll make you smile. And then Pardon the Descent. Don't forget about that one. That's with comedian Joey Vincent, who uses a lot of humor and sarcasm and satire to look at our politics and current events that are going on. Check out Pardon Dissents. I think you will have fun, and you'll be back and listening. So we will talk with you all next week, and looking forward to the conversation. Have a blessed one. Bye, guys.
Hey everybody, Jared Sebestier, host of Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. Few people can just flip the switch from working a career 30 or 40 plus years, retiring on Friday, without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.